Today, we've heard a lot of really amazing ideas. But in reality, the solutions that are going to truly disrupt the way we live are the ones we haven't even heard of yet. We haven't heard of them because they're the side project of a 14-year-old from Las Vegas, Taylor Wilson, who achieved nuclear fusion in his garage. We haven't heard of them because they're the school project of a 15-year-old from Germany, Leonard Kleinwort, who created a tool to render complex equations on handheld devices. We haven't heard of them because they're the science fair exhibit of a 17-year-old from Louisiana, Henry Lind, who simulated thousands of galaxy clusters in order to better understand the mysteries of astrophysics. When it comes to new, disruptive ideas, never underestimate the power of youth. Young people today are consistently told that they are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. But let me tell you, that is absolutely not true. Thanks to exponential technology, free and easy access to information, and global connectivity, young people are becoming the leaders of today. So first, what are these technologies that are allowing youth to make these monumental strides in fields that have been dominated by PhDs and experts for the betterment of a century? The first is synthetic biology. And synthetic biology is reprogramming life. So instead of coding in zeros and ones for computers, students are coding in A's, T's, C's, and G's in the DNA of our bodies. But what's the significance of this? Recently, a team of scientists created the first living organism with artificial DNA. So instead of just the 4 letters A, T, C, and G, they added 2 new letters, X and Y. Which is crazy, because for the past 4 billion years, all life that we know that has ever existed has used just these 4 letters. As many of you know, proteins are created when sequences of DNA are transcribed and translated into corresponding amino acids. These amino acids are linked together, and you get a protein. Well, right now, all living organisms that we know of use just 20 amino acids. But with the addition of these just 2 new letters, we could create new amino acids and new proteins, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. What if we could use these new proteins to create an organism that would rewrite our own genetic code? What if we could use these new proteins to create an organism that could improve upon our red blood cells and make our bodies so efficient at carrying oxygen and removing CO2 that you could have a heart attack and you could call your doctor and drive to the emergency room before suffering any consequences? What if we could use these new proteins to create organisms that could target our immune system and teach it to recognize diseases and pathogens that it's never seen before? And what if we could finally teach our body to recognize when one of its own cells are uncontrollably reproducing? What if we could teach our body to target and kill cancerous cells before they become a problem? Imagine the potential. Well, many might say that this is too far off, and the global challenges that we face today are much too complex for this. Well, let's look at a global challenge that millions of Americans face, and countless more worldwide. And that's obesity. Obesity, at its core, just stems from an outdated trait in our genetic code. So, as early humans were evolving, it was hard to tell when the next meal would become available. So the ones that survived the best were the ones that are able to store calories and fats to live off of until they could get their next meal. Well, today, we live in a society with a McDonald's and a Starbucks around every corner. But our bodies don't know that. They still think we need to store all these excess calories and fats in order to survive. But what if we could change that? What if we could teach our body to recognize that even though we had a big lunch, it shouldn't worry because we're going to have an even bigger dinner? Well, right now, 16-year-olds are gaining the ability to do that. The next time you're reaching for that next slice of cake, don't worry about it, that one will be on us. The next technology is 3D printing. And so I'm sure when many of you think of 3D printing, you probably picture the ability to print a small plastic toy in your house. But 3D printing is revolutionizing the field of human biology. Instead of just printing in inks, plastic, and glass, 3D printers can print in A's, T's, C's, and G's. So they can print individual cells, or even complete organs. Scientists right now are working on that and expect to fully print a complete liver by the end of this year. Can you imagine never having to wait for an organ transplant? Eventually, you'll be able to use your own cells and your own DNA to print these organs, so you never will have to worry about your body rejecting foreign tissue. This may be the first step towards human longevity. Well, previously, these technologies were only available in the most prestigious laboratories and universities at an exorbitant cost. But thanks to open source technology, they're becoming widely available so that even a teenager can afford them. The last technology I'm going to talk about is one that's been on the exponential curve for quite a long time, and that's the processing power of the average household computer. Well, right now, the average household computer has more processing power than the largest mainframes did just 20 years ago. As many of you know, IBM developed a supercomputer, Watson, which beat two of the world's best Jeopardy players at their own game. Well, that was over 3 years ago. Right now, Watson is being used in the medical field to ingest the most current, up-to-date medical research in scientific journals to give them the most accurate diagnosis. Right now, Watson can diagnose cancer better than a human doctor. Within a decade, all of this technology will be on the average household computer. And that computer will think and act at the same rate as the human brain. It will learn just as you and I do. Just a decade after that, that same average household computer will have the processing power of all of the brains of humanity combined. Can you imagine the power of 7 billion minds combined and connected? Hey, if nothing else, it'll make my homework a little bit easier. So the second factor aiding youth is free and easy access to information. Right now, a member of the Maasai tribe in Africa with a cell phone has access to more information at their fingertips than Bill Clinton did as president. That smartphone device that we all have in our pockets has more processing power than it took to put a man on the moon. We can fit libraries of books in the palm of our hands. Top scientific research journals that only the best university had access to are now free and easy to get to online. It's this access to information that allowed an 18-year-old girl from California to develop a supercapacitor that could charge your smartphone in under 30 seconds. It's this access to information that allowed people like my good friend Jack Andraka to develop the cheapest and most efficient early diagnostic for pancreatic, lung, and ovarian cancer. And he was only 15. It's this access to information that allowed people like my other good friend Catherine Wong to develop a mobile ECG that can wirelessly transmit your heart signals to your cell phone and to healthcare professionals to instantly analyze. Well, she was only 16. Together, Jack, Catherine, and I are competing for and developing a tricorder, a smartphone-sized device that can diagnose some of the world's most common diseases better than a board-certified doctor, to help the billions of people without access to healthcare around the world. The third factor aiding youth is global connectivity. Right now, there are 2 billion people online. Within a decade, that number will rise by 5 billion. which means that 5 billion new people will have access to online resources, and 5 billion new people will be able to share their ideas. So patients can share their knowledge and experience with other patients. And even the most remote areas will have access to expert doctors from around the world. And these doctors won't be able to just diagnose, they'll even be able to perform surgery remotely. These 5 billion people are transforming from consumers of information to producers of ideas. Can any of you imagine a global challenge big enough that 7 billion minds together cannot solve? But I kind of want to take a step back, because if you think about it, everybody has access to this technology, everybody has access to this information, and everybody has access to the connectivity. So what is it about young people that allow them to exploit it in ways that have never been seen before? Well, it really comes down to our brain. And it's actually the most recently evolved part of our brain called the neocortex. The neocortex is what distinguishes us as human, and at its base function, it's a pattern matching device. So, over time, in order to survive, our brain needs to get really good at pattern matching. And so for better or for worse, it's still evident today. So as we grow up, our brains learn to match a problem to a solution. So when an adult sees a similar global problem, their brain instantly recognizes that as a pattern and looks back at what's been done and can incrementally improve upon that. Well, this creates really linear change. The thing about youth is that they never had these connections in the first place. So they can look at what's been done and what hasn't been done to create radical new solutions to solve some of the world's biggest problems. Looking back, some of these solutions may seem trivial, but it really took that young and inexperienced mind to make those connections in the first place. So if you haven't been thinking innovatively, or if you haven't been thinking disruptively, don't feel bad, blame your brain. And I'm going to leave you with one more piece of advice. The next time you're feeling the urge to discipline your child, just remember, it might be their brilliant and innovative idea that will be the billion-dollar company that you're working for. Are you ready? Thank you.